So you're probably looking at this and thinking, Christ, that's a bit excessive, isn't it? The reason this is so long is because, one, it's for pairing. So say if you had a groove that you wanted to clear out in the bottom, you would be able to go all the way through to that. You could use it to pare down tenons, and you can also fine tune the angle that you hold the handle. It's like a sword. Now, if you raid your granddad's garage, a firmer chisel is probably what you're most likely to find in there. They have a very robust build on them. The handles are made of beech, so you can whack it with a hammer. So they're good all-rounder tools when it comes to carpentry, but furniture making, you'll find uses for them occasionally. These are some modern-day firmer chisels. These actually have bevels on the top of them. This is actually still a firmer chisel, and you know that by how thick these sides are. Generally, having flat spots that thick on the side of a chisel can be limiting for furniture making. Great for opening paint pots, this one. I didn't say that. So a mortise chisel, as you can see, is a bit of a chunky monkey. Look at the thickness difference. The mortise chisel is used for chopping out mortises. A really robust build on it. You can absolutely whack this thing. The fact that these sides are square to the cutting faces, and they're also a large bearing surface, means that once you start getting further down into that mortise, it's going to help it locate side to side. So a corner chisel, they are for chopping out a 90-degree corner. When you're routing out hinges, for example, and you want to chop that corner out and just get the final 90 degrees in there, pop one of these in there, whack it once, and then you've got a perfect 90-degree corner. Fishtail chisel comes into its own when you're doing lap dovetails. The shape of it allows you to get right into the back corner of all the sockets, and you can clean out all the waste in there that might prevent the tails from bottoming out in them. The only thing you've got to watch out with these is that you can't really overuse them. Call it a limited use, but they're handy to have. These ones here are skew chisels. These are very good at, again, cleaning out the corners of dovetail sockets on lap dovetails. So you can get right into the corner on the right-hand side with this one, and then into the corner on the left-hand side with this one. And obviously, these are a standard chisel shape, so you can grind these all the way down. So without ruining the end too much, bevel edge chisels are probably the most versatile ones out there. This one here is a micro chisel. It's just a really, really tiny blade on that. They have bevel edges on them. When you come to dovetailing, the fact that you have those tapered edges on there means that you can get right down to the baseline when you're cleaning out the tails, for example, whereas the square corners on a firmer chisel would bruise the edges of the tails and then show up in the finished joint. A good quality bevel edge chisel, the bevels come down to a fine point on the end, whereas ones of a lesser quality will come to a much thicker point. Butt chisels. Yeah, it's a great name, isn't it? Butt chisel. These are pretty much exactly the same as a bevel edge chisel, but they're smaller. Not really many advantages these have over standard chisels, other than being able to fit into smaller spaces. That's pretty much all a butt chisel does. It doesn't chisel out butts, it's just for confined spaces. So you can usually define carpentry chisels by two things. Firstly, the handles on them are made from this like plasticky rubber sort of thing. Secondly, on the ends of them, they have got metal caps. The metal on the end goes all the way through the handle and right the way through to the blade, which makes these great for absolutely whacking with a hammer because you lose absolutely no energy whatsoever by hitting that. We've got two types here, and as you can see, these both have bevel edges on them, and they are both sold as bevel edge chisels. These will be good for carpentry, but don't be fooled by the name on them. They have bevel edges on them, but they're just not quite there. So when it comes to buying your first one, let's start narrowing them down. Pairing chisel, don't really need it to start with, at least you might find uses for it later. So firmer chisels kind of been outdated by bevel edge chisels. So the Stanley ones here, didn't really rate them as bevel edge chisels, so we're gonna get rid of them. Oh, I can't click my hands. So starting off, you don't really need a corner chisel either, and now when it comes to clearing out the back of dovetail sockets, for example, you've kind of got the choice here between fishtail and skew chisels. I would probably go for the skew chisels because they've got a wider sweep on them, so you could get into steeper skews. So in most cases, I would probably say that a skew chisel is more versatile. If you think you're going to be doing lots of hand mortising, for example, you're obviously going to need a mortise chisel. But I wouldn't say get them to start with, I would say buy them when you actually need them. Let's get rid of them. Now, the skew chisels, they're good to have if you're doing lots of lap dovetails. They're pretty versatile. But in terms of starting off, you probably don't need them, so I'm going to get rid of them. And whoopee-doo, look at that. As you would expect, I've been left with bevel edge chisels because they're usually the most versatile for furniture making. Micro chisel, that's if you're going to be doing lots of fine model making and really, really fine joinery, you don't really need them to start off, so. And butt chisels, I would probably say that something of a standard size is a bit more versatile, so get rid of these as well. I've been left with standard bevel edge chisels, the most versatile of them all.